Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing Wisdom
Wisdom
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Shit,
This
sorry.
is That's
I'm
okay.
doing the thing that you're not supposed to do, right? Like I'm on my phone as you're talking.
We're
So
just getting started, so it's
rude.
like I'll consider it a warm up.
Okay, all right.
This is
No.
Tessa, by the way, speaking to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for the call out because we did get another email, you guys. Okay,
Oh,
this is
really?
Rosie speaking. I guess we really sound alike, Tess. I've listened to it and I mean obviously I am biased.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm biased too because I definitely hear a difference in our voices. So it's I don't know. I think that's interesting.
I
What do
think
you
it's
think it is?
interesting too. I don't know. I don't know if it's our amazing edit engineer that maybe puts a compression. I don't know. He doesn't do it sounds exactly the same. I'm trying to blame it on somebody else. Listen to me. Um
It's
I
funny.
am excited today because we have a couple of really huge announcements. The first being that my book is available for pre order. So everybody is able to now pre order the book. I did a big reveal for the cover of the book. That was interesting journey. I think we talked about it already, right? Did we talk about this?
We did kind of start to talk about the book journey. We sprinkled that conversation throughout the past couple of weeks, but
Okay.
it's such an intense journey. I mean, I feel like that's really like you as a writer, as an author, you go deep into the depths of your soul and
Oh
back
yeah.
again. And so, you know, what has that been like? Do you feel like you're coming up from air yet? For
Mm,
air yet? Do you feel like you're still deep in the trenches of that?
I mean, it's such a great question for you as well, right? As somebody who knows what it's like to write a book as an author, Tessa. You know what it's she's doing the little side smile. Um, I you know what's interesting? What I want to talk about, I want to look for the wisdom in this.
Mm,
Um, when I tell people that I've written a book or Tori's talking about it or somebody's mentioning asking a question about the process or what have you
yes, what
um
have you?
what have you. I'm tuning into my Midwestern mom in there. um it, I literally have like well, there's a story behind that in the book that I talk about, which I can share here. I don't want to be that person that's like, oh, in the book, when you buy my book, I will share whatever. I'll tell you guys a story here in case you don't want to buy the book or read it. I'll tell you the story here in a second. But there's this question that I get asked all the time, and it is, are you so proud of yourself? Are you so proud of your work? And that question always gives me pause because I feel like there's two things that happen for me with that question. The first one is pride as a recovering Catholic is not a great thing.
I love
Right?
that phrase.
So
Yes.
so there's that. And then the second is the internal inquiry of, am I really proud of my work? Because the initial question, and just to be completely transparent and honest with everybody here, because we're all friends, um, I don't know that that's what I feel about my work.
Mm,
I don't, there are certain things that I guess I could say I feel proud of. Like I'm proud to be in a long-term relationship. Like I'm proud that I've been able to withstand really difficult obstacles in my life and still be alive. I'm proud that I go to sleep at 8:30 at night, you know?
yeah,
Like,
that's oh, love that.
do you know what I'm saying? It's like there's
Yes.
certain things where I wear it as a badge of honor, right?
Mhm.
I can identify so many things, but I think when it comes to my work, I have a really hard time accepting that
Well, maybe it's not, maybe proud's not the right word. Is there another word that encompasses the
Yes.
feeling of
Yeah, and I
completion?
want to like elaborate on this, and I'm glad that you're bringing up sort of like what can you replace that word with? Um, I feel uh accomplished.
Mm,
Like there is a feeling of accomplishment where I feel like, okay, I finished this. Or like when I did my teacher training, I
yeah.
compared to the same thing, like, oh, okay, yeah, I accomplished something. There's a result from my blood, sweat, and tears have resulted in a finished product. So there is a level of accomplishment, of excitement. But the proud thing is really interesting, and I don't know, it could be an internal issue for me of I'm always going to be my own worst critic. I think we all are, and for me to not call that portion of that equation out would be remiss of me. So I definitely want to say that yes, it can always be better. And my instinct is to think like, am I proud of the work? Would I be even more? Would I be proud if I had X, Y, and Z?
Mm,
Of course, that's where I go, right? I go into the space of, it could have been this, or I could have done this more. Or I wish I would have talked about this, or I wish I would have taken this out and put this instead. So I think that's just our neuroses
mhm.
that happens in the process of actually acknowledging one's work. Um,
Yeah.
and going back to what you said, is there another word? And I feel like there is. It's just fascinating to me as you're asking the question, how the first thing that comes to mind is how many people ask, are you proud? Are you so proud? And it's like,
Mhm.
no, I don't think that I am, but I don't mean it to sound, I don't want to be hard on myself. I'm not trying to sound self-deprecating. I think it's just, no, I don't know that that's the right word for what I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really interesting, right? Like the wisdom in how we identify our accomplishments
Mhm.
is it's important for us to have the vernacular around it. So me
Yeah.
saying that, now I'll go back to what I said, that I would share the story, the Midwestern story of my internal like grandma, and you know this story, and maybe I've talked to, I know I've started just doing the circuit, guys. Those of you aspiring authors out there, if you if you want to write a book, know that you also have to promote the book and you have to sell the book. So there is a lot of interviews that you have to do, and you will repeat yourself, and you will have to dig deep to the why you're doing the work that you're doing, so that you can get through doing, you know 150 interviews in a certain time span. So that being said, um, I don't know. You'll hear this me talk about the story because it was a pivotal story in my journey, when I was, in the midst of my inquisition, internal inquisition, when I was a teenager, and I was trying to figure out whether I was going to be just like everybody else that I grew up with in this awful environment, be one of those like unruly, at risk youth children's that was just fine with getting by and probably dying at a young age from like a drug overdose or something, like some of my friends did. I decided I to ditch school one day, and I took the bus to Venice. My happy place is always the beach. And so I took this journey, and I write about it in detail. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'm going to tell you the story for those of you who are not going to read the book. I'm going to give you the Cliff's notes because I don't want to get too into it. But I got to the beach, and I'm going down towards the shore, and take my docks off. I kick them off, and I'm carrying them in one hand, and I'm like, walking through, and just thinking like, wow, why do I have to engage with everyday life? Why can't I just live here and be like these awesome like beach bums that just smoke weed all day and do nothing. Like, what a life, right? Everybody looks so happy. Everybody's always in a good mood. It's sunny and 70 degrees. I live in paradise, Southern California, you know? So I go and I find this little spot to sit and think. And I've got my Walkman and I'm listening to, like, you know, my punk rock music and, you know, like rebelling against the system. And then I see this woman, this like older lady, you know, she's walking down. She's got, you know, her jeans hiked up with one hand. She's holding her shoes on the other, and she's sort of like trudging along, you know, the sandbank there. And she says, you know, she greets me and she starts to say like, "Oh, how are you?" You know, and I can tell she's from the Midwest only because I watched that 70s show and she sounds like Kitty Fowler from that 70s show. And I'm like, oh, she's probably from the Midwest. And of course, she confirmed that she was. And she's like, oh, shouldn't you be in school? It was like middle of the day. And it must have been the springtime you know, because it must have been like a, you know, spring break or, you know, people are traveling. People are always traveling to Southern California anyway. So, and we're just having like small talk, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I'm ditching school because I have to figure out my problems, you know, like I've got problems in my life and so I'm trying to figure them out. And she kind of looked at me like, "Oh, that's so deep, you know, this little teenage girl is sitting here like trying to figure out her life." And she looks at the ocean and she says, "Well, there's no problem that's bigger than this ocean, so you came to the right place." And I was like, ah, wisdom bomb. So I was shooketh in that moment because it just, everything made sense. She was so right. And I was like, ooh, wow, she's right. It's not that big of a deal. Like nothing is that big of a deal. Why am I so perplexed by making a decision that I know in my heart is going to serve my highest good?
Mm.
And yeah, so that was, and then now you can go back and if you want to read the book, you can see what happens after that. But it ends up well. Here I am. Just so you know, spoiler alert, it does go well for the most part.
Yay.
And here
We're
we are.
so glad you're here and that you
So,
chose this path. Thank you.
yeah.
I love that story. I have heard it before, but every time you hear a story, you hear it a little bit differently. It's kind of like going back and um, reading your favorite book over and over again throughout the years and kind of seeing it from a different lens each time you
Yeah.
do. Do you have any books like that that you do that with?
Yes. There's several actually. There's Wherever You Go, There You Are. John
Aw.
Kabat-Zinn. I read that. I read that book all the time. Light on Life by BKS Iyengar. Those types of books that really helped shape my understanding of Buddhist uh, philosophy or yogic philosophy or, you know, just A Path with Heart by Jack Kornfield is another one. Those books that you just play or listen to or read that I have on my nightstand that I'll just open it up and I know exactly what the story is. But sometimes
Mhm.
you're right, it just lands differently. And I
Yeah.
really enjoy that. What about you? Do you have any that you read?
I have. There's several books of poetry that I similarly keep on my nightstand. For me, poetry is so soothing and like that practice of winding down at bedtime, very relaxing for the nervous system in terms of reading something that is fiction or poetic, really relaxing for the brain. So my two go-tos are oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the specific Mary Oliver book. But I have several of hers. She's one of my favorite
Mm.
poets. The specific quote and um, the last stanza or the last line of the poem is, "Tell me, what will you do with this one wild and precious life?" And I always I was first introduced to Mary Oliver by my mom. She was sending me off to college. She wrote me like this 4-page letter, and that was a quote she left me with at the end.
Oh,
And I remember reading that like in my college dorm after they had left, and it just brought me to tears. And it just felt like such a good question to continually ask yourself throughout your life as you grow. So that's Mary Oliver. Any of her books, any of her poems, return to over and over again. And the other one is Khalil Gibran's The Prophet.
yes. Oh, one
I
of my
could
favorite
just,
too.
oh, I
Yeah.
just every time for
Yes.
every season or reason or issue, I feel like I can open that book and oh, there's the answer.
Yeah, actually, it's that was actually one of my first gifted books when I started my spiritual journey back when I was 19 years old. Yeah, my friend uh Elizabeth Devon gifted me that book, and I remember reading it and being just so incredibly just mind blown. Like, what is this? This is so, everybody should read this. So much beauty, so much wisdom, so much to draw from. I love moments like that because we lose those little moments because of the mundanity of life, right? We forget how to remember who and what we truly are. And I feel that, for those of you listening to this podcast, our aim is always to create even a little bit of that self inquiry for you to remember this time is important and valuable, and your life is meaningful, and everything that you do every day doesn't need to be extraordinary to be meaningful. We can do everything. That's part of a mindful practice, is to be mindful of every breath and every movement, everything that you're doing, where you are right now, who you're with, what your surroundings are, what you're feeling, what you're going through, what is important to you right now. It reminds me of those moments where we've talked about this several times on here, especially for our Wisdom Wednesday podcasts. The the thought or the remembrance of, I'm so glad I never got what I always wanted,
Yeah, yeah. There's a
right?
oh, I love that. Any kind of, well, there's a specific Martin Sexton song. Do you know who Martin Sexton is?
Mm-mm.
He's one of my favorite musicians. It's very like folksy bluegrass kind of
Oh,
jazzy. I'll have to have Kathy add a link
make
to
me a
this specific
playlist.
song. Yeah, and I will. That it's the particular album I'm referring to is called Live Wide Open. So it's his music live. I think he's doing it from Colorado or something. But there's a line in one of the songs that's like, thank God for all those times I didn't get what I wanted,
Mm,
something along those lines. And just the way that he belts it out and sings it with that soulful voice is like, you can feel you. I just
yes.
places you back like in your childhood self when you were like, I really want that, whatever it was. And your parents said no, or it just wasn't possible for whatever reason. And you're like, oh, thank God life didn't take me down that path. It's like that retrospect. It really is as cliche as it is. Retrospect is, or hindsight is 2020 is the saying, right?
Yeah, wow. Oh, I love that. As you're talking about the music, I'm thinking about Tori and I just started watching the Beatles documentary. Have you seen this?
Oh, it's on my list. Is it
Oh my
so
God.
good?
You guys, you and
Oh,
Jorge have to, I'm telling you, everybody, you guys need to watch this. It's so good. Peter Jackson directed it. It's not a short documentary. It's like a basically three-part, 3 hours per. It's a commit. It's not 3 hours. I think it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's 3 hours, I guess. It's three parts. Tori and I just were in on the second one now. We've been watching it in little chunks. But for anybody who is a music fan, and we are a very music heavy family. Everything, I can go back even to my book and tell you exactly what I was listening to when I was writing it and what I was listening to when I was going through that specific moment. I actually have a Spotify playlist that I called it like the radically loved playlist. So if anybody
Ooh,
wants to listen to my playlist that I was playing while I was listening to my book, let me know and I can link that. There's a lot of like Alice in Chains and Nirvana. I mean, it's such a random like little playlist, but it's really cool. Anyway, if you're a music fan, um, it's so I love watching behind the scenes or the making of albums or the making of these really iconic sounds that are basically the bedrock of rock and roll or pop music and everything that we listen to today. It's so wild and just to see the magic, you can see the magic happen. I mean, as Paul McCartney and John Lennon are sitting there, the way they're working together, like they're like, "Oh, I'm thinking about this riff here, this lyric here," and it's like Get Back, right? Like this iconic song that's like, oh, "Okay, yeah, I'll do this G, A, and then I'll do this, and then oh, what about this lyric?" And you could just see the genius behind these people, and there's so many people out there, right? We all have this zone of genius. Tori and I just we go on these, we keep pausing it because we have these full conversations. We're like watching, we're like, oh my god, this is so wild. And then we have this entire philosophical conversation about talent and is talent born or is it made? You know, where do we find that magic? How do you get into that zone of genius? And how do you tap into that energy, that frequency? And it's so, I mean, I get so excited about it because anytime I'm feeling stuck, and maybe for the people that are listening to this, if you've ever, or you, Tessa, if you've ever felt stuck or you feel like you're trying to do something creative and you just can't get there, or you're feeling a little down, for me, music is always the cure all.
wonder.
So anyway, I get really excited and I'm just like, music is always my panacea when it comes to having a difficult encounter.
Yeah,
And if you're wanting to be inspired, you're looking for something feel good that, can just take you into a state of feeling good, watch this documentary. It's so good.
I'm feeling very inspired to watch this documentary. Jorge brought it up. He was
Oh,
like,
you did? Oh,
"Can
good.
we watch this?" And I said, "Yes,
Yeah.
of course we can." So it's on our list. On
Yeah.
that note, too, one other thing I would say, like feeling this this occurred to me last weekend when I was kind of feeling like, you know how you get into a rut in your routine and you just feel like, okay, I'm kind of stuck and I'm not motivated. I was invited to go down to see the Olympians Jade Carey,
Oh.
gymnast Jade Carey, and Jordan Childs perform at Oregon State University. There was a friendly competition between universities that they go to. And one of my really good friend's daughters in gymnastics, and she's starting to be at that level where she might be competing. And she wanted to inspire her daughter and she invited me to go. So I got to go on Sunday to this incredible display of these, I mean, mind-boggling. Like you
Oh.
can't even you watch gymnastics on TV, you see the Olympics and you're
Yeah.
like, how the heck
How?
do they do that with their
Yes.
body? But then seeing it in person is just,
Next level.
oh my gosh, Rosie. So and I decided I was kind of like, huh, because I knew the week that we had coming up and just kind
Yeah.
of like how busy
Crazy.
we are these days.
Busy.
And
Busy, busy
I was
bees.
like, I'm so tired. That's an hour and a half drive. It's going to be exhausting. And then I was like, you know what, Tessa, you're exhausted because you just need to get out of your funk. You need to get out of your groove. You need to do something that's different and inspiring. And I made the decision to go. And I'm so glad I did
Ugh.
because now I feel really inspired to just
Yes.
be healthy in terms of like, I want to feel good in my body. I want to take care of my body. I feel super inspired in that way. And I'm certainly not going to be an Olympic level gymnast, but it's just, sometimes
Yes.
just like listening to music, of course, if you're an aspiring guitarist or you just need some inspiration, it's such a great way to get yourself out of your own
Yes.
head.
It is. And I think it's the momentum. Sometimes if you feel stuck, it means inertia. So how do you
Yes.
get the momentum and almost being in the, think about it just energetically, right? Being in the energy of people that are very like devoted and very committed, very disciplined. You go into
Yeah.
that space, all of a sudden you get excited. I mean, I think about it, when I would go study with my teacher, I would get reinvigorated with my practice. You're in that frequency, you're in that zone. And I'm a true believer of, if you don't have it, seek it out.
Mhm.
If you don't have inspiration, go seek it out. Who's inspired? I'm not saying, oh, go find somebody to inspire you. I'm saying, who is inspired? Go look for it. Can you be around it? I believe it's about proximity, being close to it, being in that energy, whether it's through watching something really inspiring, listening to a podcast, or being in the presence. For me, I'm very much, I want to be in the presence of it. If I'm feeling really in a funk, I need to go and be with human form.
Mhm.
But if it's an energetic thing where I'm just like, I'm tired and I'm just kind of in this weird funk and people aren't responding to me, or I'm feeling like dissatisfied with the way something's going, I need to just pull away. I mean, sometimes you're too close to it. You can't see it for what it is, and you need to pull back and view it from that peripheral space to remember how nothing is going to be as big as the ocean, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that being said, that's our Wisdom Wednesday. We do have one final announcement that I'm just remembering now that you wanted us to talk about, and I totally forgot.
Never
So
too late.
it's never too, that's right. Oh, there you go. There's that wisdom again. We have a very exciting event going on. Talking about events, we have a very exciting free event for everybody. We have another Radically Loved Summit happening. Drum roll. There it is. Okay. The Radically Loved Summit is available now to register. We'll put the link in the bio. Listen to me. I'm like on Instagram. I've been doing so many fucking videos on Instagram. Wait, the link below or the link here on the side or swipe up. It's just like, listen, the Radically Loved Summit is here 2022, and it's going to be an incredible experience. The speakers are next level. We've got some of my besties on there. Tessa's going to be there. Coach Mike Bear is there. We've got Elena Brower. We've got Tara Moore. We've got so many incredible speakers. The whole idea behind the summit was to create a space, an opportunity for people that are interested in reading my book, give you an experience of what each chapter is about. So each speaker was assigned a chapter and they're going to talk about it. Maybe it inspired something within themselves. Maybe there was a takeaway. Maybe it reminded them of a story of resilience where they overcame some sort of obstacle. We're talking about it all. It's a 10-day event. Is that right? Okay.
Correct. Yes, you
Okay,
got
I'm
it.
like, it's a 10-day event and it's totally free. All you need to do is register. So we'll put the info in the link, the info wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. The link will be the first thing you see. So you can register there and you'll get access to when it goes live. And I believe it starts February
7th.
7th and it
Yep.
goes through
February 18th. So,
February.
yeah, February 18th is the last day. So, Monday through Friday, you'll get a special delivery Monday through Friday, one email a day, and you'll have the weekend to digest.
Yeah,
And
weekend
then,
to digest and get into the information. And they're short interviews. Yours truly will be interviewing the speakers, and it'll be great and it'll be fun to be have a virtual event again. It's been a long time since we did a virtual event, and we've got some fun stuff in store. I don't want to share too much because I don't want to give it all away here, but just stay tuned. Definitely sign up for the newsletter if you've not signed up already, because I'll be sharing mostly there, some on Instagram. So be sure to check it out and remember to follow us on all the socials, sign up for the newsletter so you can get more information. Thank you all so much for listening and for being here. I look forward to sharing more of my book writing journey with you and sharing more about the book and sharing more about all the fun things that are coming up. We've got some retreats going on, doing my first retreats back since COVID. We're going to Mexico. I've got a festival that I'm doing in a yoga festival in Guam that I'm doing on June 25th. More details on that coming up. And potentially we're going to Italy. That is TBD. So you can stay in touch via my newsletter if you want more information. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for being here.